unfortunately went to change the front caliper hose on the driver's side, and when I went to do that, before I went to do that, because we have to bleed the brakes, I went to open the bleed screw on the caliper with an 8mm wrench, just wiggling it back and forth, and it sheared right off. So we unfortunately are going to have to replace the calipers on the front of this car. And since my sister gave me brand new rotors, brand new pads, probably going to put just wholesale it. This car has enough miles on it. The pads and rotors aren't really that bad. If they were, you know, if I wasn't taking it apart, I wouldn't be changing them. But since I am taking it apart, I'm going to put all fresh stuff on, then it's all brand new. And when I do go to take it to be inspected, it's one less thing that they can ding me for, you know, having, I mean, they all function and stuff, but it looks all fresh. It looks like we've taken care of the car, etc. So what we're going to do now is I am going to work on taking the front calipers off, because there are $45 core charge at AutoZone per caliper. AutoZone here in Rhode Island did have a set, so I've already ordered them. I've got to go pick them up. So I want to bring the broken calipers with me when I go. That way I can just exchange them immediately, and I don't have to have a core charge sitting on my credit card for, you know, a few days while I work on exchanging them. So let's get started. We need to take this caliper hose off, and I've got to find something to pinch it with so that it doesn't drain our master cylinder. I've got to take the slide bracket bolts. Actually, it looks like there's just one slide bracket bolt, and this just comes out the bottom. It doesn't look like this. This probably just pivots on it. Probably pivots out like this. So we'll take this hose off. We'll take this bolt out. We'll take the caliper off. Then we'll take the pads out. We'll take the bolts for the slide bracket out. And I've got these 2 screws that'll have to come out as well, and the rotor will come off, and that'll be it for the night. Tomorrow we'll come back and finish it up. One trick when you're working on front brakes, turn the wheel out towards you so you can access the bolts. It's much easier. So crack that loose again. This one is a 12mm. This one, the slide bracket bolts that hold it to the knuckle, are 17mm. Oops, got the wrong way, dummy. There we go. Slide bolt. Pull that out. Imagine that just tipped back like that. Yep. That slides back like so. There we go. Get these slide bracket bolts off. Oh, one's cracked loose. Let's do the upper one. Ratchet out here. There's our lower bolt. Put that aside. Pull the upper bolt out. Alright, there's the upper bolt. There's our slide assembly. I don't know, these pads don't look that bad. So there we go. There we go. The caliper is off. I've got to pull these 2 screws out here, which we might have to use the impact screwdriver and get those off, and then we can go from there. To get these two screws out, you might need to use something like this, which is an impact screwdriver. And we've got to find, there we go, the right size socket. See the screw moving. So you hit the back of this with a hammer, and it forces, and actually that bit might be a little too small. I might need to bump it up to a bigger bit here. Let's try this, see if this is a little better. Oh yeah, that'll fit much better. There we go. All right, there's one screw out. All right, using our Mac Tool impact screwdriver here, we got our screws out. We're gonna slide our rotor off here. There we go. That wheel bearing doesn't look too bad. We'll clean this hub assembly up, and I think I'm gonna throw the new rotor back on it. I mean, this rotor's not that bad, but I think I have new stuff. We're gonna put new stuff on it. I gotta find my banjo bolt. I lost my banjo bolt. It went flying. So, and unfortunately, I gotta find a way to stop this from leaking, because I probably won't get the calipers until tomorrow, just because of where they are. So we've got to figure that out next. Since I've got to go chase the calipers, and it'll be tomorrow before I get back to this. You guys will see it in one video, but I've got to go chase the calipers later, and it's getting late in the day. I have brand new hoses, so I just cut the end off of it and stuck a bolt in it. This will stop it from leaking. That way it doesn't drain my master cylinder reservoir, and I have to bleed everything all over again. So that's a old school trick. If you want to stop a hose from leaking temporarily, stick a bolt in it. So we've got the rotor off, we've got the caliper and everything off. I am going to put the tire back on it temporarily, just to let the car down and sit on all fours, and I'm going to move over to the other side and take the other caliper. On the passenger side now, I've got the hose off. This hose has been rubbing because it was zip tied, so I have brand new ones. I'm going to cut it, put a bolt in it to stop it leaking, because it'll be tomorrow before I get back to it. I'm going to pull this bolt out of the top here, which actually looks like it's a weird socket, or it might be a Allen socket, which I don't have those with me, so that will be fun. And then we're going to pull this off just like we did on the other side. Somebody's already pulled or drilled the bolts out, so we don't have to do that. We'll just pull the rotor off and call it good. All right, because I don't have the I think this is a big Allen socket, but I don't have it with me, so we're just going to take the whole caliper off as one assembly. And that is a 17mm bolt on both of the brackets here, or the upper and lower bolt. It has one loose. Alright, camera's in the way. Oh, my arm's in the way. There's two loose. Switch over to our ratchet here. There's that one. There we go. There's our caliper. Yeah, it's a big Allen head. And these pads actually look much better than the other side. There's our rotor off. Perfect. We'll get the hub assembly cleaned up, and we'll put the new rotor pads, etc. on. I mean, these rotors don't really look that bad, so I may put these aside and have them cut for future reference. But they're not too bad. I mean, like I said, the pads aren't even really that bad. I wouldn't be taking this if I didn't have to take it apart for the bleed screw. I wouldn't be changing. Back from AutoZone, have our brand new calipers. Unfortunately, didn't have the hardware kit for this one, so I will have to. The hardware kit that came off, it's in pretty good shape, so the only reason I was changing them was because of the bleed screw issue. So we are gonna clean this hub up with a wire brush, and we'll put some never sees on it, put the rotor back on, hold it on with a lug nut, load the calipers, put the calipers back on, torque everything down, change the brake hose, bleed the brakes, and move to the other side. All right, did find our pads have a brand new hardware kit with them, so we'll use that in place of the missing piece here. Using Wagner pads, Wagner TQ series pads, part number QC957. Wagner rotors, part number BD126078E. Let's open up one of our rotors here, and let's grab a clean rag. We'll wipe it down with a little brake clean just to get any of the machining oils off of it. There we go. My knife out here. Go. Nice shiny new rotor. Opted to just throw the new stuff on it for now. Just like in all the other brake videos. A little brake clean. Clean the machining oils off. And I already cleaned the hub up with a wire brush. Put a little bit of never sees on here. Go. Let's line our rotor up. Perfect. There we go. Use our lug nut to hold it down, since the alignment screws, somebody drilled or broke those at one point in the car's life. There we go. Good enough. Now comes the fun part, to load the caliper and get it on the car. All right, got our slide clips in, brand new hardware, where you can see how they go in like this. So this is one of the old ones. It sits in the caliper like so, and we'll slide the pads in. I'm not trying to split these apart just because I don't have my, for some reason, one of these slide brackets is a bolt, and the other one, oh, that's a bolt. That one, the driver's side is a bolt. This one is an Allen screw. I don't understand why they did that way. I'm going to use a little CRC ceramic brake system grease on the slides. We're going to put the pads in. I'm going to take our two 17mm bolts here. We're going to never seize them. We're going to put it all back together. I'm going to change out the brake hose, and we'll bleed that corner. All right, this is what our fully loaded caliper looks like. Used a little CRC ceramic brake grease. We've got our slide brackets on here. Everything's greased up. I put a little grease on the slide brackets themselves and on the pad ears, or the ears of the pads. The back pad is the one that has the wear indicator on it. At least that's how I pulled it off. We are going to, I'm going to never seize these bolts up here. We're going to slide this whole assembly over the rotor and tighten the bolts down. Got our caliper back on. We've got to torque our slide bracket bolts here, or caliper to knuckle bolts. Need a 10mm wrench to pull this off. I believe this is a 12mm socket. We'll put our banjo bolt back in and open the bleeder screw and let it gravity bleed for a little bit. Now we have our brake hose change. You got brand new crush washers here on the banjo bolt. I have the bleed screw open. You can see it's gravity bleeding into a pan. This side is pretty much done for the moment. We'll come back and bleed it better after we do the other side. The only thing I'm missing is the bolt that goes in here, because the old one rotted away. So I've got to chase down a bolt for this, and then this side is completely done. So let's get the tire back on, straighten up the wheel, and move over to the driver's side. Got our driver's side caliper fully loaded now. Slide brackets are in, greased up, pads are in, rotor's been degreased, car's jacked up. We'll work on getting the tire off, clean up the hub just like we did on the other side, rotor on, lug nut, caliper, caliper hose. We've got our rotor on the driver's side. One thing I didn't do on the other side, I have to go back over and do is torque our caliper bolts down. This side I was able to reuse our alignment screws. Wipe off some of my excess never sees there. It's the only side that had these not broken or drilled out. We'll put our two 17mm bolts back in, tighten them down, change this line out, 12mm bolt, 10mm wrench, put the brand new line on and gravity bleed it, and then we'll come up and actually pump it and make sure there's no air in it, etc. So that's pretty much it. That's how you change the brakes on your 2005 Mazda 6.